We're here with Derrell now to talk about the livestock markets. So Derrell, the USDA just released the 2022 Census of Agriculture. So what did that tell us about the number of farms with beef cows?
Yeah, so the latest Census of Ag, which is our most complete picture of U.S. agriculture, showed that there were a little over 622,000 farms that had beef cows at the end of 2022. And if you look at the distribution of those farms by herd size, about 80% of all those farms have less than 50 cows. In fact, the U.S. average herd size was 47 cows in 2022. At the other end of the spectrum, the number of farms that have more than 1,000 head of cows represented just 0.3% of all of the farms.
So what did this tell us about the number and the distribution of cow inventory by herd size?
Yeah, so if you look across all those farms, those 80% of the farms that have less than 50 cows have about 25% of all the cows. At the other end, those farms that 0.3% that have more than 1,000 head have almost 10% of the cows. And then, of course, the other categories in between, from 50 to 100, 100 to 200, and 200 to 500, and so on, make up the majority of the cattle in the middle.
So when we're looking at these two different statistics in this 2022 census, how has this changed from the last one or over time?
You know, I compared the latest census to 20 years ago, so the 2002 census, and of course if you look at that, the number of farms total in the U.S. has gone down, and that's certainly true of farms with beef cows. It's gone down about almost 22% over that time period. The number of cows in herds of 500 head or more has increased over time. And so even though the percentage of those farms that make up that 80% less than 50 head is the same, it hasn't really changed over time, but there are more cows in the bigger herd size categories at this point.
So how do the Oklahoma farms and herd sizes compare to those national numbers?
You know, Oklahoma is really pretty similar to the national trend in a lot of ways. We've seen a decrease in our farms over time, about 22%. The average herd size in Oklahoma did increase over that 20-year period from just over 40 cows to over 51 cows. And if you look in both nationally and Oklahoma, all of the herd categories from 200 cows and larger, herd sizes 200 cows and larger, got bigger. And that's a kind of a national trend. It's kind of the nature of the industry where farms have to get a little bit bigger to be viable economically, and we've certainly seen that.
So what's the big takeaway for producers from this census?
Well, this is a snapshot over time. I think, in some ways there weren't a lot of surprises in this, but it does show the continued evolution of the industry. I think the fact that those bigger herds have gotten bigger in terms of the number of cows represented in those does indicate some of the economic challenges that producers face. Some of these, herds of 50 to 100 to maybe up to 200 really face a lot of challenges. If that's intended to be a full-time or a complete operation, that may not be enough to make it work, and so there's some pressure for those herds to get bigger over time.
All right, well, thanks for updating us, Derrell. Derrell Peel, Livestock Marketing Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.